What's up guys, it's Paraly5er here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be ranking all of the bugs in Grounded 1.2.4. Now as you can see in front of me, this is the tier list that we had the last time we ranked the bugs, which was in 1.0. Now I'm not going to waste your time and re-rank every single bug in the list, because since 1.0 there hasn't been too many changes to the bugs in the list. The main change that has occurred though is with the flying bugs, which is why they're all at the bottom right now. The flying bugs got changed massively because they stun really easily now. So you'll have noticed in your game when you've been playing, if you get attacked by a mosquito and you parry one attack, it'll instantly stun the mosquito and ground it so that you can get loads of hits in and kill it really quickly. Now previously, both the mosquito types were in D tier, because they were just really annoying creatures that would just chase you across the map non-stop and just hit you, and you couldn't really do much against them unless you were using ranged attacks. But now, even melee is viable, and even though they are still a little annoying, they do have their uses. And so for that reason, the regular mosquito is getting bumped up to C tier. The tiger mosquito, however, is still extremely annoying. They do both drop blood sacks. However, the difference is that tiger mosquitoes are much stronger and they come in packs. The majority of them live around the Moldorc castle, and when you fight one, you're going to end up fighting 10. So for that reason, I'm going to leave these guys in D tier. They're still super annoying, and I hate having to deal with them. Next up, we have the Firefly. Now, obviously, the stun change was also made to the Firefly, but one of the really good changes that was actually made, now with crossbows, you can block cancel shots. So after you shoot, you can block, and then you get a little debuff that makes it so your next shot does less damage for a while, but this is really useful against Fireflies. I'm going to tell you why. You shoot the Firefly with the crossbow. Fireflies are of course weak to stabbing, so arrows do really good damage against them. You shoot it with the crossbow, and then you block cancel, which allows you to run away to avoid the Firefly's attacks. Then, once you've avoided the Firefly's attacks, you shoot again and then block cancel again. Usually it takes 2 to 3 shots to take out a Firefly, and thus these are much easier to kill now. The biggest issue with Fireflies is that there isn't much to craft with them in the game, but I am still going to bump them up from D tier to C tier now, as I do think they're not as annoying, and obviously there is a few things you can craft which include lighting and also the helmet. Next up we have the Moth, who, I'm going to be honest, hasn't really changed much. It's a flying enemy, and obviously that means its block gauge is kind of reduced. You can stun it more easily now, but usually I just fight these guys with a sour staff anyway, so I would say the change to these has been minimal, and for that reason they stay in C tier. And then the final flying enemy that was changed is the bee. Now, the bees in the past were pretty easy to kill. They were actually in the A tier of my previous list. I'm now going to move them up to S tier. I think these guys provide a lot of resources that you need. You need a lot of bee fuzz for all of the stuffed bugs in the game, and you also need quite a few bee stingers. They're very easy to kill now, because as soon as you perfect block one attack, they drop to the ground, you pull your mint mace out or whatever fresh weapon you're using, and you can kill them in one combo really easily. You don't have to get hit whatsoever. They're really easy to kill now, and they give you a lot of resources that are really useful, and so for that reason, they have to be an S tier enemy. And then we move on to the 4 new enemies that were added in Grounded 1.2.4. These are some of the most annoying enemies in the game, and we're going to have a great time ranking them. First, we have the regular Wasp. Now, these guys are very annoying. They have an attack that poisons you, which is very annoying, but you can block it if you're using a shield, and it is avoidable by jumping sometimes. I would say that the drops that these guys have can be useful for making the Wasp armor, and so for that reason, I'm going to put them in C tier. I do think they are annoying, but fighting a Wasp on its own isn't that bad, to be honest. The main problem I have with these guys is as soon as you open the composter up, there's Wasps everywhere on the map, and they can get really annoying because they always aggro you, but the positive is they do fly quite high up, so you kind of have to get really close to them for them to even notice you, to be honest. So for that reason, these guys are C tier, because I don't really use the Wasp armor or any of the other stuff that it drops. I don't feel like I need it that much, although you do need it for some of the furniture later into the game. Next, we have the Wasp drone. These guys are one of the most overpowered enemies in the entire game. They don't have any unique drops, so you don't need to kill them other than for the gold card. There's not even a stuffed version of them. All these guys do is heal themselves and give buffs to the Wasp that makes them do bleed. They heal themselves so quickly. I know most of you play mild or medium, so you probably don't understand, but if you play WoW, When these guys heal, they are almost unkillable. They are resistant to stabbing damage, just like the wasps, which means using bows is almost ineffective because they resist bows, because bows do stabbing damage if you didn't know. And for that reason, they are D tier. They are such a pain. I hate the wasp drones. They literally... There you go, okay? You can't even see that. Here, let me show you what that looks like. There we go, we got a new tier. Just for the wasp drone, there is now an F tier, because this guy is the worst enemy in Grounded, and it's not even a debate. The infected wolf spider is maybe the only other enemy that even comes close to being an F tier, but it's not quite as bad. Next, we have the Wasp Queen. Now, how do I feel about the Wasp Queen? I think it depends on the difficulty you play. If you play mild or medium, where the Wasp Queen is a completely fine boss fight, then I'd say this is relatively balanced. On a WoW, she has infinite summons. She will summon an infinite number of wasps and wasp drones. But these are mostly based off of medium difficulty. She's not too difficult on medium difficulty. The drops she gives are pretty good. The trinket she gives is very good if you can get your hands on it. The drops she gives let you make the Bard's Tudor and the Bard's Bow, which are both very good pieces of equipment. So for that reason, I'm going to put her in the B tier. I think that this is a good boss fight in mild and medium. I think on WoW, it's like a D tier because she's way too broken. She summons way too much stuff on WoW that needs a nerf massively. But on medium, which is what we're going to base this off, that she is very, very balanced, and I think the boss fight works really well. If you have the right set of gear, it's very doable, and for that reason, she's going to go into the B tier for me. And then last but not least, we have the Infected Broodmother. Now, I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on this enemy. How do I feel is the question? Well, I feel that this enemy is relatively well balanced. I'll be completely honest. There is only one attack that it does that you can't avoid, which is the one where it shoots out of its bum, just like the infected wolf spider does, and you can't block it, you can't avoid it. If it hits you, it hits you. Every other attack in this fight can be avoided or perfect block, which I really, really like. Unlike the Mantis here, who you can't perfect block half of his attacks, and even if you do, you still get all the debuffs, which I really, really hate. But when it comes to the Infected Broodmother, you can perfect block all the attacks. The recipe is expensive, but that's to be expected, as it's the final boss in the game. The biggest problem I have with this enemy is you get very little loot. You're going to need to kill this thing like 10 times if you want to be able to make all the different stuff, like the brazier, the throne, the explosive weapon, the full set of armor. Like, there's a lot of stuff you need to craft with this, and it's very, very expensive, so it's going to take you a few different fights to get through her. But I would say this is a solid A tier boss fight. I think if you're a very skilled Grounded player, you can take this on consistently and beat it. I think if you're not very good at Grounded, you're going to really struggle against it, but that's fine. You don't need to beat it. If you just beat it once, then that's enough to 100% the game. You don't need to collect all the armor and all the other stuff that she drops. So, for that reason, I'm going to put it in A tier. It is pretty difficult. The one thing I would say is that the debuffing health stack that she has can go a bit over the top. I wish that would cap to like maybe 50, because, you know, Lil Fist got capped, so why isn't that silly little health debuff capped? If they capped it at like 50, I think it'd be perfectly fine. I think once you get past 50 in that fight, you might as well just give up. You're not going to beat the Broodmother at that point. The debuff's just too strong. It outweighs your healing, and then at that point, you're just going to get absolutely smoked. But I would say it's a solid A tier enemy. That's the complete bug tier list. Hopefully, you don't disagree with me too much. I'm sure there won't be many people that disagree on the Wasp drone. I know that for sure. It deserves its own F tier, okay? It is the worst bug in Grounded, officially. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on it, and I'll see you in the next Grounded video. Have a great rest of your day.